In the cold silence of deep space, far beyond human reach, a great council of alien leaders gathered. Their faces were strange and different. Some had shining eyes like burning stars, others had skin like stone, and some moved like shadows. They came from many worlds, but all of them sat in one circle, inside a huge chamber that floated above a dying star. This place was the Council of the Five Suns, where only the most important decisions of the galaxy were made. The air was tense. No one spoke at first. Then slowly an elder alien stood up. His name was Varen, the oldest member of the council. His voice was deep and heavy, echoing in the chamber. "You all know the old words," Varen said. "The warning that has been passed from one generation to the next. Never trust humans." A low murmur moved through the council. Everyone had heard this phrase before. Some had grown up with it as a lesson, like a child's story to keep them away from danger. Others had seen it written in old archives, carved into the walls of forgotten ships. Never trust humans. But very few knew where this warning came from. Another leader spoke, her voice sharp like metal. "The warning is not just words. It is history. Long ago, humans showed their true nature. They are dangerous, unpredictable, and capable of great destruction. If we open the door to them again, we invite our own death." The room grew heavy with silence again. For a moment, it felt as if every leader agreed. Yet not everyone was certain. From the far side of the chamber, a younger alien rose. His body was covered in silver scales that shimmered under the lights. His name was Sirak. Unlike the others, he was not old enough to have lived through the events that created the warning. He had only heard the stories. "But is it not strange?" Sirak asked carefully. "If humans are so dangerous, why did our ancestors deal with them at all? Why call them allies in the beginning? Why work with them? Something must have happened that changed the story. Something we do not fully understand." A ripple of unease moved across the room. Some aliens nodded slightly, but others glared at him with anger. Varen's voice thundered again. "The humans cannot be trusted." They betrayed the trust of those who welcomed them. They used their clever minds not for peace, but for war. They think differently than us. Their hearts are wild, their instincts sharp. They do not live as long as we do, so they burn brighter, faster, and deadlier. We are still paying the price for their madness. But Sirak was not convinced. He looked around the chamber and asked softly, "And yet, if they were only a danger, why did the ancient records also call them saviors? Why does the warning never explain the whole truth?" The council grew restless. Some whispered to each other, some looked down in thought. The phrase "never trust humans" suddenly felt incomplete, like a puzzle with missing pieces. Then the chamber lights dimmed, and a hologram flickered to life in the center of the circle. It showed old recordings, scenes from a war long forgotten. Alien ships exploding in fire, worlds burning, and in the middle of the chaos, human fleets fighting side by side with alien allies. The humans were fierce, brave, and clever. They fought enemies no one else could defeat. But the recording ended abruptly, cut off before the outcome was shown. The leaders watched in silence. For some, it was proof of the danger. Humans were warriors, too skilled and too reckless. For others, it raised new questions. Why would allies erase the end of the story? At last, Varen spoke again, his voice low and dark. "Do not be fooled by old memories. Whatever good they once did, it ended in blood. Our ancestors gave us the only truth that matters. Never trust humans. That is the law of survival." But Sirak's eyes glowed with curiosity. He whispered to himself, almost too quiet to hear, or perhaps, never underestimate them. The council dismissed the meeting with unease. Each leader left the chamber carrying the weight of fear and doubt. Outside, the dying star burned red, throwing shadows across their ships. The warning had been spoken once more. But deep inside, the seed of a question had been planted. Why were humans feared so much? What had really happened in the past? And if the warning was true, then why in secret were some alien worlds already searching for humans again? Far away on a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star, humans lived their ordinary lives, unaware that across the galaxy their name was spoken with both fear and need. The warning had been repeated for centuries, but soon the galaxy would learn whether those words were protection or a terrible mistake. The council chamber was empty now, but the words of the meeting still echoed in Sirak's mind. Never trust humans. He had heard it his whole life, but something inside him told him the truth was more complicated. The hologram shown earlier, those humans fighting side by side with alien fleets, kept replaying in his thoughts. If humans were only dangerous, then why did they once bleed for others? Why fight wars that were not even theirs? Sirac decided he could not let the matter rest. Late that night, inside his quarters aboard a great crystalline ship, he accessed the restricted archives. Most aliens avoided these records. They were old, fragmented, and filled with painful history. But Sirac's scales shimmered faintly as his claws moved across the glowing screen. File after file opened, each one full of broken data and half-destroyed recordings. At first, he found nothing useful, just reports filled with warnings. Speeches repeating the same words, "Humans cannot be trusted." But then, hidden deep in the archives, he discovered something unusual. A sealed folder labeled Project Dawnfire. The security codes were old, easy to break. With a few commands, the file unlocked, and suddenly images filled the chamber around him. They showed the humans as they once were, not enemies but allies. In one recording, human soldiers in strange armor stood shoulder to shoulder with alien warriors. Their weapons glowed with fire. Their faces were fierce, but their eyes showed determination, not cruelty. A voice narrated, "Together we fight, together we stand." For the freedom of all worlds, Sirac leaned closer. This was not the picture of monsters. This was the image of protectors. Another file showed humans helping to rebuild alien colonies after a devastating attack. They carried supplies, repaired ships, and worked side by side with alien families. In one moment, a human lifted a collapsed beam from a burning structure, saving the lives of 3 alien children. The children looked up at him, not with fear but with gratitude. Sirac's heart raced. Why has this been hidden? But then came the final record, and the story grew darker. The images showed a great betrayal, not from the humans, but from one of the alien species themselves. An alien faction had made a secret deal with the enemy. To cover their treachery, they blamed the humans. They twisted the truth, erased the human sacrifice, and planted the warning that echoed even now: never trust humans. Sirac felt his chest tighten. The warning was a lie, or at least only half the truth. The humans had been betrayed, not the other way around. He whispered to himself, all this time, we were the ones who broke trust, not them. For a long while he sat in silence, staring at the flickering holograms. His people had built an entire legend on fear. Generations had been taught that humans were dangerous, when in reality the humans had once been saviors. No wonder the records had been buried. The truth was too painful. The guilt was too heavy. Suddenly the door to his quarters hissed open. Veyron the Elder stepped inside. His eyes glowed dimly in the shadows. "I should not be here, Sirac," he said in a low, warning voice. Sirac quickly shut down the files, but it was too late. Veyron had seen enough. "You searched the archives," Veyron continued, his tone dark. "And now you see why we repeat the warning. You think humans were heroes? No, they were dangerous because they gave us hope. And hope is what destroyed us. When the betrayal came, it shattered everything. The humans left in anger, and they swore never to return. Their wrath was unlike anything we had seen. Worlds burned that day, ours and theirs. That is why we must never call them again." Sirac stood tall, his silver scales catching the faint light. "But that is not the whole truth. We betrayed them first. We broke their trust. You know this. Why do you hide it?" Veyron's face grew hard, his voice cold. "Because sometimes lies are safer than truth. If the Council knew, if the galaxy remembered, they would try to reach humans again. And if humans returned, the galaxy would not survive. Better to live in fear than to repeat the past." With those words, the Elder turned and left, his heavy steps echoing down the corridor. Sirac remained alone, his mind spinning. The forgotten past was clear now. Humans were not the monsters of legend. They were something else, something far more dangerous. Not because of their cruelty, but because of their power to change everything. As he looked out the window at the endless stars, Sirac felt a shiver run down his spine. He whispered again, almost in awe, "Never trust humans. No, never betray humans." Far away on Earth, the humans lived in peace, unaware of the old wounds still haunting the stars. But soon those wounds would open again. The galaxy would remember the truth, and the humans would be called once more. The galaxy was vast, filled with stars, planets, and endless mysteries. For centuries, the alien council had lived in uneasy peace. always repeating the warning about humans but never daring to speak of them again. Yet peace in the galaxy was fragile, and darkness had begun to move at its edges. Far beyond the borders of the Five Suns, strange signals were detected. At first they seemed like nothing more than static, but soon the signals grew stronger, sharp bursts of code carrying messages no one could understand. Then the destruction began. A mining colony vanished. No distress calls, no survivors. Only silence and broken debris left floating in space. Then one by one entire fleets went missing. Alien traders whispered about shadow ships with impossible speed, weapons that tore through shields like paper, and voices that came across the comms, cold, metallic, not belonging to any known species. At the council chamber, panic filled the air. Dozens of leaders shouted over one another, their voices desperate and frightened. "They have destroyed 3 of our colonies already," one alien cried, his tentacles trembling. "Our fleets cannot even track their movement," another shouted. "They strike from the dark and then vanish before we can fight back." "They are not like us," said a third, his eyes glowing with fear. "They are something else, something that only wants destruction." The elder Veyron raised his voice above the chaos. "Silence! We must remain calm. We face a new enemy, yes, but we have faced threats before. We will fight as we always have together." But even Veyron's voice carried unease. He had seen the reports. Ships that melted under strange energy beams. Weapons that bypassed every known defense. This enemy was not only powerful, it was unstoppable. Sirac sat quietly, watching the fear spread among the council. He remembered the old recordings he had found, the hidden truth about humans. A dangerous thought grew inside him. Perhaps this is why the humans were once needed. A hologram flickered to life in the center of the chamber. It showed a world under attack. Great black ships like moving shadows rained fire upon the planet's surface. Cities burned. Millions screamed as they fled, their voices lost in static. The hologram cut out with a single line of code, a warning from the defenders. "They are coming," the broken voice said. "They cannot be stopped." Silence filled the chamber. For the first time in many years, the council felt truly powerless. One of the younger leaders spoke, her voice shaking. "Our fleets are too weak. Our weapons fail. What if? What if we cannot win this war?" The words hung in the air like poison. No one wanted to admit it, but the truth was clear. They were facing extinction. Finally, Sirac rose to his feet. His silver scales glowed faintly as he spoke. "There is only one chance. You all know it, though you will not say it aloud. There are those who fought wars greater than this, those who turned battles when no one else could, the ones we buried in our history, the ones we swore to never trust again." The room went cold. Every leader stared at him in silence. No one wanted to hear the name, but everyone knew who he meant. Humans. Veyron's eyes narrowed, his voice sharp. "Do not speak that word. You would doom us all." Sirac stepped closer to the council circle. "No, we are doomed already. These new enemies cannot be stopped by us. You have seen the destruction. You know this is true. The records we buried, they show what humans can do. Their strength, their fury, their fire. They are dangerous, yes, but they are also exactly what we need." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some leaders looked horrified, others thoughtful. "But the warning," one began. "The warning was a lie." Sirac cut in, his voice fierce. "It was born from our own betrayal. We twisted the truth because we were afraid. But now fear will not save us. Only they can." Veyron slammed his staff on the floor, the sound echoing like thunder. "You would risk the galaxy for them? You would call back the monsters of the past?" Sirac stared at him, his eyes glowing with determination. "No, Elder. I would call back the only warriors who might save us." The chamber exploded into chaos again. Some leaders shouted in agreement, others in fury. But deep inside, every single one of them felt the same terrible truth. They had no choice. If they did nothing, the new enemy would destroy them all. At last, silence returned, heavy and painful. One by one, the council members lowered their heads. None wanted to admit it aloud, but the decision had already been made. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy would reach out to humans again, far away. On Earth, humanity continued to live quietly, unaware that the stars had begun to tremble. Their name, once buried in shame, was about to be spoken once more. Not as a warning, but as a desperate call for help. The new threat was here, and only humans might stand against it. The decision had been made. The Alien Council would do what they had sworn never to do again. They would reach out to the humans. Many leaders protested, but the fear of extinction was greater than their pride. The new enemy spread like fire across the stars, and every passing day brought new losses. A secret mission was formed. Only a few ships were chosen, carrying no weapons, only diplomats. They moved carefully through space, hiding their journey from the eyes of the new invaders. Their destination was a small blue planet orbiting a yellow sun, Earth. As the ships entered the solar system, silence filled the council ship. For centuries, humans had been a name spoken only in whispers, always with fear. Now they would meet them again face to face. The ships reached orbit. Earth looked peaceful, oceans glittering under sunlight, continents green and alive. It was hard to believe that the species feared across the galaxy lived here, busy with their ordinary lives, unaware of what was coming. "Send the signal," ordered Sirac, who had insisted on joining the mission. His silver scales glowed with unease, but his eyes burned with determination. A beam of coded light shot down toward Earth. For hours there was no answer. Then suddenly a human voice spoke back across the channel, calm but cautious. "This is Earth Command. Identify yourself." The chamber fell silent. The aliens looked at each other nervously. Then Sirac spoke, his voice steady. "We are representatives of the Five Suns Council. We come in peace. We seek your help." There was a pause. Then the human voice replied, sharper this time. "Help? From us? Interesting. The galaxy spent centuries warning others never to trust humans. And now you come to beg?" The words cut like blades. The aliens shifted uncomfortably, their pride burning. But they could not deny the truth. Another voice joined, deeper, commanding. "This is Admiral James Calder of Earth Defense. If you truly want to speak, then come to the surface. But know this, we have not forgotten." The alien delegation descended, landing in a secured base far from any human city. The landing bay was filled with soldiers in advanced armor, their weapons ready, their eyes sharp with suspicion. The alien leaders stepped down slowly, careful not to make any sudden moves. Humans surrounded them, silent, their faces cold and unreadable. At the front, Admiral Calder waited. He was tall, with sharp eyes that seemed to look straight into their souls. "Why are you here?" he asked simply. Varen, the elder, stepped forward first. His voice trembled slightly. "We face an enemy greater than anything the galaxy has known. They destroy worlds. They destroy fleets. We cannot stop them. We need your strength." Admiral Calder's expression did not change. He folded his arms, his voice like steel. "Strength? You mean the same strength you once feared? The same strength you told everyone else never to trust?" The aliens lowered their heads. None of them could answer. Sirac then stepped forward, his silver scales catching the light. He spoke directly to Calder. "What you have heard is true. Long ago we betrayed you. We twisted the truth because we were afraid of you. The warning we gave the galaxy was a lie, but now we face death. Without you, we will fall. And if we fall, the galaxy will follow." The humans remained silent. Calder's eyes narrowed. "So now, after all these centuries, you come crawling back? Tell me, why should humanity save those who betrayed them?" The question hung heavy in the air. No alien dared to speak. At last Sirac whispered, his voice low but full of honesty, "Because you are not what they say. You are more. You are the ones who can turn the impossible into victory. We cannot deny that, even if it means our pride must break." For a long moment, Calder said nothing. His soldiers shifted, waiting for his command. Finally, he turned and walked a few steps away, staring at the earth through a wide window. He spoke quietly, almost to himself. "For generations, we remembered the betrayal. We remembered the lies, but we also remembered the battles. We remembered how we fought side by side, and how we bled for a galaxy that turned its back on us." Then he faced them again, his eyes cold but sharp with resolve. "If we help you, it will not be for forgiveness. It will not be for trust. It will be because humanity does not run from a fight. If this new enemy threatens Earth, then it threatens us, and we will not wait for it to reach our world." The aliens let out slow breaths of relief. Calder had not rejected them, but his words were clear. This alliance would not be built on friendship. It would be built on survival. "Very well," Calder said at last. "We will hear your request. Tell us everything about this new enemy, and then We will decide how humanity will respond. For the first time in centuries, aliens and humans sat together again. The meeting room inside Earth's defense base was heavy with silence. Humans sat on one side of the long metal table, aliens on the other. Between them lay years of mistrust, betrayal, and anger. But outside, in the galaxy beyond, the new enemy spread like wildfire, consuming worlds one after another. Admiral James Calder leaned forward, his sharp eyes fixed on the alien council. "Before we agree to anything," he said slowly, "you need to understand something. Humanity does not forget. You turned the galaxy against us. You made us out to be monsters. And now when you face a true monster, you come crawling back." The aliens lowered their eyes in shame. None of them argued. They had no defense, but Calder continued, his voice steady and cold. "We also do not run from a fight. If this enemy threatens the galaxy, it threatens Earth. And if it threatens Earth, humanity will act. But we will act on our terms." The words sent a wave of tension across the room. Serac, sitting among the aliens, leaned forward. His silver scales reflected the harsh light. "What are your terms?" he asked. Calder's eyes narrowed. "First, full honesty. No more secrets. We want every detail you have about this new enemy. Technology, tactics, weaknesses, even rumors, everything. If you hide anything, the alliance ends." The aliens exchanged uneasy glances but nodded. "Second," Calder said, his tone sharper now, "Earth will lead the defense, not you. We will not risk another betrayal by following your commands. If you want our help, then humanity takes command." Gasps of protest erupted from the alien side of the table. "Impossible," one leader cried. "You are few. You are untested. You cannot—" "Silence," Calder snapped, his voice like thunder. The alien stopped instantly. Calder's presence was heavy, almost intimidating, like he carried the weight of countless battles behind his eyes. "You came to us because you could not win," Calder continued. "You already tried your way, and you failed. Now you either let us lead, or you can face extinction alone. Your choice." The aliens went quiet again. Slowly, Serac stood, his voice calm but firm. "I support this condition. We asked for their help. We must trust their way. If humans are as dangerous as legend says, then perhaps their danger is what we need." The room fell silent again. One by one, the alien leaders gave slow, reluctant nods. The decision was made. Humanity would lead. Calder leaned back in his chair. "Good. Then we can begin." He pressed a button on the table and a holographic map of the galaxy flickered to life. Stars glowed in 3 dimensions, with red marks spreading like bloodstains where the enemy had already struck. "Your reports say their fleets strike fast, using technology we don't fully understand. But every weapon has a weakness. Every predator has a blind spot. And humans are very good at finding them." He gestured to his officers. One stepped forward, a woman with sharp eyes and a steady voice. "We have been analyzing your data. Their energy weapons burn through shields, but they generate massive heat. If we can overload their systems, even for seconds their ships will be vulnerable." An alien leader frowned. "But how will you overload them?" "No fleet can get close without being destroyed." The officer smiled faintly. "That is why we don't fight like fleets. Humans don't win wars by playing fair. We win by being unpredictable." Another hologram lit up, showing human ships, smaller, faster, less advanced than alien designs. But their movements were wild, darting and weaving like hunters instead of soldiers. They were unlike the straight, disciplined lines of alien fleets. "This is how we fight," Calder said simply. "Not with numbers, not with strength. With chaos. We will strike where they least expect, hit them where it hurts and vanish before they can strike back. We will bleed them until they break." The aliens watched in silence. Some looked doubtful, others almost fearful. Serac, however, felt a strange spark of hope. Finally, Calder spoke again, his voice cold but powerful. "But understand this alliance is not built on trust. It is built on survival. We will not fight for your honor. We will not fight for your forgiveness. We will fight because humanity refuses to lose. If you stand with us, you will follow our command. If you cannot, then leave now." The room was silent for a long moment. Then slowly, one alien leader bowed his head. Another followed. Soon all of them lowered their eyes in agreement. The alliance had been formed. Fragile, bitter, but real. As the meeting ended, Serac looked at Calder with cautious respect. "Admiral," he said softly, The galaxy once warned never to trust humans, but I think what they should have warned was never to underestimate you. Calder's eyes were cold, but a faint smile touched his lips. You're learning. Far beyond Earth, the enemy fleets moved closer, unaware that for the first time in centuries, humans and aliens would fight side by side. The alliance was set. The plan was daring. The war was coming, and the galaxy was about to remember why humans were feared. The enemy came like a storm. Their black ships poured out of the dark, moving with impossible speed. They filled the skies above a dying world on the galaxy's edge, a place chosen by humanity and the Council for the final stand. Alien fleets waited in formation, their ships glowing with shields and energy weapons. Human fleets were smaller, fewer in number, but their patterns were strange and unpredictable, spread wide, darting like hunters ready to strike. At the center of it all stood Admiral James Calder, his voice steady as he commanded both humans and aliens alike. All ships, hold position, Calder said over the comms. Let them come closer. Do not break formation until I give the order. Alien commanders shifted nervously. Admiral, their weapons will burn through us. Calder cut them off. They expect us to panic, to fire too soon. We will not give them what they expect. We fight our way, not theirs. The enemy fleet closed in, their weapons glowing with deadly light. The first blasts tore through the outer defenses of the Allied line. Alien captains cried out, demanding orders. Calder's voice was calm, almost cold. Not yet. Another wave of fire ripped through shields, shaking the fleets. Explosions lit the void. Fear spread like wildfire. Still Calder waited. His eyes were sharp, fixed on the enemy patterns. He was hunting. Finally, he gave the order. Now, scatter and strike. The human ships broke formation instantly, moving like wolves released from a cage. They weaved between enemy blasts, diving in close, firing at weak points, then vanishing before the enemy could respond. Alien ships followed, though clumsily at first. Not used to such wild tactics, the battlefield turned into chaos. Enemy fleets struggled to keep up, their precise movements breaking apart as the humans attacked from angles they never expected. Small human ships slammed missiles into weak spots, while others overloaded enemy weapons with sudden energy spikes. The heat buildup began to show. Enemy cannons glowed too bright, some even bursting apart mid-battle. For the first time, the unstoppable enemy faltered. On the Council flagship, Sirac watched in awe. They fight like no one else, he whispered. Not with order, but with chaos. And yet it works. Veyron the Elder stood beside him, his face grim. This is why we feared them. Not because they were monsters, because they could turn the impossible into victory. The battle raged on. Enemy ships fell one after another, their black hulls breaking apart in fire. But the cost was high. Human ships were destroyed too, many burning in silence as their crews gave everything. Still, they fought with fury, refusing to give ground. Admiral, one officer shouted, our losses are heavy. Calder's voice never wavered. Hold the line. Every second we fight, we bleed them. Push harder. The final stage of the plan began. A group of human ships, nearly broken, dove straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. Their comms went silent as they overloaded their reactors, turning themselves into living bombs. The explosions ripped through the enemy core, tearing dozens of ships apart in blinding fire. The enemy line collapsed. Their fleet broke, scattered, and began to retreat into the darkness from which they came. The impossible had happened. The Alliance had won. Cheers erupted across the comms. Alien captains shouted in disbelief, their voices filled with relief and awe. Sirac stood tall, his silver scales shimmering. We are alive, because of them. But Admiral Calder's voice cut through the celebration, calm and sharp. Do not celebrate yet. They will come again, and when they do, we will be ready. The battlefield was filled with wreckage, burning debris drifting across the stars. Countless lives had been lost, both human and alien, but the galaxy was saved, for now. As the Council ships gathered, Veyron approached Calder. For the first time, the Elder bowed his head. We warned the galaxy never to trust humans. But today you saved us all. Perhaps we should have warned them of something else. Calder raised an eyebrow. And what is that? Veyron's voice was low, almost reverent. Never underestimate humans. Calder's eyes hardened. He looked out at the stars where the enemy had fled. His voice was steady, filled with iron. Remember this well. We do not fight for your approval. We do not fight for your forgiveness. Humanity fights because we refuse to lose. And if the galaxy wants to survive, it had better remember that. The stars burned quietly beyond the shattered battlefield. The warning had changed. No longer never trust humans. Now it was something far more powerful. Never betray humans. Never underestimate humans. And never forget what happens when humanity is called to war. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again.